Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. Shock sites refer to websites that are designed to provoke strong emotional reactions, often through disturbing, graphic, or offensive content. The history of shock sites can be traced back to the early days of the internet, in the late 1990s and early 2000s. One of the earliest and most infamous examples was the website Rotten.com, launched in 1996, which featured images of gruesome accidents, crime scenes, and other macabre content. As the internet evolved, shock sites became more prevalent and diverse. One of the most notorious shock sites was the Pain Olympics, which emerged in the early 2000s and purportedly showcased extreme and grotesque self-mutilation and body modification acts. While the authenticity of some of the content on these sites was often questioned, they nevertheless garnered considerable attention and notoriety. In the mid-2000s, BME Pain Olympics and Two Girls One Cup became viral sensations. Two Girls One Cup in particular involved an explicit and revolting scene, generating widespread shock, disgust, condemnation, while being widely shared across the internet. However, due to their distributing nature and often illegal content, many of these shock sites faced legal actions and were shut down or blocked by authorities in various countries. Despite these efforts, shock sites continued to surface with new names and variations, such as bestgore.com, making it difficult to entirely eradicate them from the internet. Over time, the popularity of shock sites waned, partially due to increased regulation and efforts to enforce stricter content guidelines on various online platforms. Additionally, the rise of social media and mainstream websites offering more palatable content further diluted the prominence of shock sites. While shock sites have somewhat diminished, the history of these disturbing corners of the internet serves as a reminder of the complexities of free speech, censorship, and the ever-evolving challenges in maintaining a safe and responsible online environment. Today, internet users are far more conscious of the potential dangers and often show greater discretion while consuming or sharing content online, contributing to a more responsible digital landscape. Though, it has to be said, even today, in 2023, those who want to view such content can easily find such videos with a click of a mouse and a few Google searches, despite the declining popularity in shock sites. In the late 1990s to the early 2000s, the craze of filmed cartel executions had not yet started, and primarily, the violent content that was available was taken from various combat zones from across the world, most notably from the Second Chechen War. Very often, at the time, such gruesome acts of violence were broadcast on television and then subsequently recorded and uploaded online. This is the case with the infamous Chechnya beheading video, which was originally shown on a Russian documentary detailing the Chechen Wars. The Chechen Wars essentially popularized the filming of executions from the battlefield, mainly as a tactic to scare the opposition, which was the Russian army. Other notable examples of such executions would be the gruesome Dagestan massacre video, where 6 Russian soldiers were brutally executed by Chechen rebels, and also others, such as the Tree Stump Axe execution video, which I haven't covered on the channel as of yet. Following 9/11 and the subsequent US-led invasions of both Iraq and Afghanistan, dubbed the War on Terror, Islamic extremist groups would also utilize the act of filmed gruesome propaganda, Groups such as Al-Qaeda and the Movement of Liberation and Jihad, among others, would frequently capture foreign workers, journalists, contractors, before making demands, and if said demands were not met, the hostages would subsequently be executed. Many such cases were unfortunately recorded. The most notable examples would be the executions of Daniel Pearl, Nick Berg, Eugene Armstrong, and Kenneth Bigley. Before their executions, subsequent tapes were recorded and sent to media companies, with the hostages reiterating the message of the terrorists, as well as potential conditions for their release. When said conditions were not met, the men were all subsequently executed. The Iraq War would become many people's first encounter with brutal online content, with mainstream news networks reporting on the cases and the subsequent executions, which, of course, only intrigued people's morbid curiosity. The Iraq War would subsequently aid the rise of such shock sites previously mentioned. Before the Iraq War, the vast majority of people were not even aware that such gruesome content could be found online. Although the four names previously mentioned are arguably the most famous cases of filmed executions from the Iraq War, there were several others that barely made the headlines. I'd like to thank Skinned Face for the information surrounding the following case. One of the lesser known hostage execution situations from Iraq was the murder of both Georgi Lazov and Ivailo Kepov, two Bulgarian men who were working in Iraq as truck drivers during the Iraq War. This particular case is extremely interesting, as it shows that sometimes disturbing lost media can indeed be found and isn't always just a glorified online creepypasta. And it begs the further question, just what else is out there waiting to be discovered or uploaded online? Georgi Lazov and Ivailo Kepov were kidnapped at the end of June 2004 in the northern Iraqi city of Mosul by militants loyal to the Jordanian-born terror suspect Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. The story was huge in Bulgaria, though not elsewhere. The wives of the two men, identified by Bulgarian authorities as civilian truck drivers, made several videotaped appeals to the captors through Al Jazeera news broadcasts. The Bulgarian government also came under fire from its citizens for not doing enough to secure the men's release. Bulgarian Foreign Minister at the time, Solomon Pasi, made it clear that Bulgaria's staunchly pro-US policy would not change as a result of the driver's capture. Bulgaria is a stable state with a predictable foreign policy, and we cannot expect it to change its foreign policy because of one or another group, Solomon Pasi told Bulgarian state radio at the time. On the 9th of July 2004, the Arab news station Al Jazeera received and broadcasted a hostage tape, purporting to show the two Bulgarian men, Georgi and Ivailo. The group called themselves the Movement of Liberation and Jihad, or Jamaat al-Tawhid wal-Jihad, and promised that they would kill both men within 48 hours if Bulgaria didn't withdraw their troops from Iraq. It said that the hostage tape was never broadcast in full, and only snippets were shown. On the evening of July 13th, 2004, Al Jazeera announced that one of the two Bulgarian hostages, Georgi Lazov, had been executed. The kidnappers also threatened to kill the second Bulgarian hostage after 24 hours if their demands were not satisfied. The news station reported the killing with certainty, as the terror group sent the execution tape directly to the studio, though the news outlet decided not to broadcast the video due to its graphic nature. Some still photos, however, were released to the public. Lazov's decapitated body was found on the 14th of July 2004 in the Tigris River. A second body was found on the 22nd of July, also in the Tigris River, and that was of Ivailo Kepov. However, it was only Ivailo's murder that made the rounds online initially. I'm not sure how it found its way online. However, it is more than likely possible that it was uploaded to a terrorist website, as shown in the following screenshots. Here's the archive of the potential website. Obviously, none of the download links work, and unfortunately, the embedded media was never archived, but you can still see all of the original statements and titles. The video of Ivailo Kepov's murder made the rounds in early August of 2004 and was then subsequently shared on more well-known gore sites. Following the news of the execution of both men and the fact that televised images were shown of Kepov and Lazov kneeling before their captors outraged the country of 8 million people and prompted criticism of Bulgaria's decision to join the US-led coalition in Iraq. The general belief among the Bulgarian public was correct. Military intervention into Iraq did not serve the country's best interests in the slightest. However, the reality is, rejecting the US and Western war machine is a decision that could come with potential consequences down the line, possibly resulting in a reduction in military aid as well as other potential issues. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual videos? I think we should talk about the execution of Ivailo Kepov first, although he was the second to be killed. The video of his murder was the first to have appeared online, again appearing online in early August of 2004. The video itself is 1 minute and 47 seconds long, and the quality of the footage is very grainy and dark. The video has been shot in a dark room that looks to be in a residential house. A black flag with white Arabic text can be seen in the background. Several men, dressed in black, carrying assault rifles with their faces concealed, can be seen standing, with one holding a piece of A4 paper. The man holding the paper reads out a brief statement which is translated as follows: "In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Thanks be to God, Lord of all worlds, and prayers and peace be upon the Master of Messengers, the Prophet, and upon his family and companions, as for after to the faithless Bulgarian government and its people. Here we go again, to cut the neck of the other hostage. What prompted us to do this is your lack of concern for your citizens, and if you were concerned, you would have responded to our demands. And you would have pressured your ally America to remove the women from the Abu Ghraib prison. And we promise you and the whole world that we will be on the lookout for all of you who walk the path of infidelity. We will not rest until we get our sisters back from prison. Jamaat al-Tawhid wal-Jihad. Allahu Akbar. Glory to God." There is a loud static sound throughout the video, which makes it hard to hear the details of the clip. As the statement is being read out, it's very hard to see Ivailo Kepov as he is kneeling on the ground, and the darkness of the video only allows you to see a faint outline of his head at the bottom of the video. After the statement is read out, the video then jump cuts, and it shows several of the jihadists crouching over Ivailo as he is being held down. He is wearing an orange jumpsuit, meant to replicate that of the prisoners in Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay. A man can be seen slicing Ivailo Kepov's throat with a knife. He wriggles on the floor as the men hold him down. He has been gagged but attempts to scream, which results in a muffled intermittent crying type sound. It's haunting to say the least. The men chant Allahu Akbar as they carry out the heinous murder. The video jump cuts again, and it shows Kepov's body in the corner of the room where the beheading took place, laying in a pool of blood. The man carrying out the execution completes the beheading and holds the head up in the dark room to the camera. The camera zooms into the bloody face of the decapitated head as the men chant loudly. Following the release of a video, Jamaat al-Tawhid wal-Jihad released a statement in regards to the murder of Ivailo Kepov. The statement reads the following: Bulgarian Alga slaughter, which his country's government refused to respond to the legitimate demands of the Mujahideen. It is the ally government of the Americans, and participating in its forces in the Crusader invasion of Iraq. This is a warning to all of Bush's foolish allies and collaborators in Iraq and abroad. Although a tragic case, the story of Georgi Lazov and Ivailo Kepov's demise would fall into the annals of forgotten history. That was until the beginning of January of 2023, when footage of the murder of Georgi Lazov was finally released to the public nearly 20 years after his murder. Once again, I have to thank Skinned Face for the information and backstory behind the case of Georgi. For those interested, check out his Instagram in the link in the pinned comment, though it is only suitable for a mature audience. As mentioned, Georgi Lazov was the first captive to be murdered, and his recorded execution was not uploaded directly online by the terror group. Instead, they sent the footage to the news network Al Jazeera, who said due to its graphic nature, it won't be shown in full, and only a few images of the video were ever released. It seemed certain that the video would never see the light of day and would become a lesser-known artifact of disturbing and gruesome lost media. However, that is not the case. After speaking to Skinned Face, I asked how he managed to obtain the unreleased video. I can't say too much, however, he and one of his contacts got in touch with somebody very close to the case, who can't be named as I don't want to compromise his source. The unnamed individual sent them the video, and subsequently it was uploaded to a private Telegram before it was ripped and uploaded online. I was also advised that this is just one of many unreleased executions from the Iraq War, and potentially many more are out there waiting to be discovered. He also stated that many others were also sent to Al Jazeera that were never broadcast. Additionally, he suggested that there are many executions from the Chechen wars, also artifacts of lost media that are absolutely real, waiting to be discovered. The execution video of Georgi Lazov is 1 minute and 38 seconds long. As you play the video, you see Georgi, once again, dressed in an orange jumpsuit, kneeling on the ground with his hands tied together. He has also been blindfolded. 3 men, who have their identities concealed, can be seen standing behind him, with a black flag with Arabic text being seen in the background. I believe this is the flag of the Movement of Liberation and Jihad. It appears to be a different location to that of the murder of Ivailo Kepov. The man standing directly behind Georgi is holding a note, which he proceeds to read. The statement is as follows: "In the name of God, the most merciful, praise be to God, the powerful, the exalted, and prayers and peace be upon the Prophet and his companions who are brave when fighting, from the Unity and Jihad group to the Bulgarian government. This is the first head. It will be cut off, God willing, with the sword of truth, and we will give you another 24 hours. Either you release our imprisoned sisters, or we will send you the head of this person. You have accepted for yourselves to be under the banner of obedience, so taste the outcome of your affair, and he who warned has been excused. Allahu Akbar. The killers in the video are very likely to be the same men who also killed Ivailo Kepov, and the person reading the statement sounds exactly the same. After the statement has been read, at about 52 seconds into the video, the man reading says Allahu Akbar, grabs Georgi by the hair and pulls him to the ground. Two of the men hold him down, and the third uses a razor-sharp knife to start beheading the victim. The sound is much better in this video, and you hear the blade cut through flesh, cartilage, and throat. It makes a wet squelching type of sound. The victim barely screams, aside from letting out a few quiet groans. After a few seconds, you hear the familiar guttural gurgling type of sounds, as the victim fights to take breaths of air into his lungs, though the blood bubbles and pops as he tries to breathe. The video then jump cuts to the end of the beheading. The killer holds the head up to the camera and then places it and balances it on the victim's body. The video ends by playing what sounds like a jihadist song. Although the videos are not the most graphic by today's standard, it goes to show that more than likely there is a vast amount of very real, lost disturbing media out there waiting to be discovered. The case is also sad, as both men were ultimately just innocent individuals trying to earn a living. Both men were from a poor rural area of Bulgaria, and were working abroad to support their families. However, ultimately, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the demise of both men was nothing short of sadistic, cruel, and yet another example of the true reality of war. It waits for no one, and should you be in its way, ultimately, you are just a number, a statistic. I'm no fan of Stalin, to say the least, but his quote summarizes it the best. A single death is a tragedy. A million deaths are a statistic. We have seen such sentiment recently with what has been going on in Eastern Europe. Despite all the coverage, analysis, and talking heads sharing their opinions, not one has pushed for peace and a resolution to stop the bloodshed. The few that do are ostracized and are branded with asinine accusations designed to destroy their credibility. Quite frankly, I think that says it all. But anyway, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. I thought this was an interesting case due to the lost media aspect of it. Again, the Georgi Lazov video only surfaced at the beginning of this year, nearly 20 years after his murder. I've actually been planning to do this video for quite some time, so I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, if any of you guys want to get in touch, follow me on Twitter, the link will be in the pinned comment below. Of course, you can drop me a DM, send case recommendations, things of that nature. Also, if you could follow me on Twitch, it would be much appreciated. We are approaching 2,000 followers, which is pretty cool. I've been enjoying Twitch quite a lot. We've got a really good core community over there, and it's not a place where we discuss such topics as today's video. We literally just let our hair down, have fun, have a laugh, that sort of thing. So if that interests you, check out my Twitch. It would be much appreciated. But anyway, as always, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the next one.